Days of Our Lives' first episode are taking intensity to new heights. Wednesday's storyline promises to rattle relationships, test loyalties, and shine a harsh light on the truth, no matter how deeply buried. Sarah's wrath unleashed. Sarah is about to explode, and the person standing directly in the path of her fury is none other than her husband, Xander. The once-redeemed bad boy of Salem has fallen off the edge once again, this time in an outburst of violence that left Philip, his own half-brother, gravely injured. As Sarah watches the fallout of Xander's actions, Philip fighting for his life in a hospital bed, it's clear her patience has reached its limit. And who could blame her? Xander, in a fit of rage, lashed out without pausing for explanation. His anger erupted the moment he discovered Philip had a hand in the recent drug theft scandal. But the twist here, the emotional heartbeat of the storyline, is that Philip wasn't acting out of greed or vengeance. He was trying to do the right thing, albeit in a misguided way, hoping to prove his loyalty and usefulness to Xander. Instead of finding redemption, he found himself beaten and broken. Now Sarah is left picking up the emotional pieces of the mess Xander made. Her trust has been shaken, her marriage destabilized, and her heart filled with worry. Not only for Philip, but for the kind of man Xander is becoming again. Will Sarah turn against Xander completely? Viewers who have followed Sarah's journey know she doesn't lash out lightly. She is fiercely loyal, protective of those she loves, and has a long history of standing by Xander even when his past came back to haunt them. But this time may be different. Philip, even through his pain and trauma, mentioned Sarah as he lay wounded. Was it a simple moment of concern, or a strategic move to protect her from the very man she married? There's a deeper undercurrent to this drama. If the truth emerges that Sarah knew about a forged letter connected to Philip's supposed misdeeds, it could drastically shift public perception. Maybe she wasn't just protecting Philip out of misguided loyalty, maybe she was trying to keep the peace, knowing that Xander's temper, if provoked, could lead to just the kind of violence we're now witnessing. Could Sarah's actions be seen not as betrayal, but as a desperate attempt to prevent this exact tragedy? And if that's the case, what does it say about her future with Xander? Can a marriage survive when one partner has to hide the truth to protect people from the other? Philip's life hangs in the balance. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, the tension thickens. Philip's condition is uncertain. His beating was severe, and the medical team is doing all they can to stabilize him. But those who care about him, namely Alex and Brady, are bracing for the worst. Both men are carrying the emotional weight of their shared past with Philip. Alex, having grown closer to his brother over time, is horrified to see him in such a vulnerable state. Brady, for his part, has his own complicated history with the Kyriakis family and knows too well how fast things can spiral out of control when emotions are left unchecked. Viewers should prepare for a somber and emotional scene, one that may lead to heartfelt confessions, long-buried regrets, and possibly even a moment of reckoning for Xander, should he dare to show his face. Paulina's big surprise, sweet or sour. While some corners of Salem are drowning in despair, others are experiencing unexpected joy, or at least, that's the hope. Paulina is thrilled to see her daughter Chanel and Chanel's husband Johnny reunited at last. The couple has endured numerous trials, including interference from jealous exes, family disapproval, and personal insecurities. Now, they seem more united than ever, and Paulina couldn't be happier. So, she decides to surprise them. But is it a good surprise? Spoilers are keeping things close to the vest, but hints suggest it could be related to the young couple's next step, house hunting. Perhaps Paulina has found the perfect starter home for them, or maybe she's preparing to offer them financial help to begin this new chapter of life. Still, surprises in Salem don't always go as planned. Could Paulina's well-intentioned gesture stir up unintended consequences? Will Chanel and Johnny accept her offer graciously, or will the strings attached be too much for them to accept? A warning from the past. Stephanie faces Kat in another emotionally charged moment. Stephanie crosses paths with Kat, a woman slowly beginning to grow closer to Chad. As any longtime Days fan knows, Chad's heart is still deeply tied to his late wife, Abigail. And for any new romance to take root, it must weather the shadow Abby continues to cast over Chad's life. Stephanie knows this better than most. She dated Chad herself, and the experience left her with lingering emotional scars. Her warning to Kat is not out of jealousy. but compassion. She understands how painful it is to love someone who can't let go of the past. Even though Kat has heard whispers of Chad's emotional struggles before, hearing it from someone who's lived it might give her pause. Can Kat accept that part of Chad's heart may always belong to Abigail? And if she can't, will she walk away before she gets hurt? Final thoughts. A day of reckoning as Wednesday's episode of Days of Our Lives unfolds. One thing becomes clear. There are no easy answers in Salem. Love, loyalty, and truth are all being put to the test. Some relationships may shatter under the weight of betrayal, while others could emerge stronger after surviving the storm. Next, as the dust settles on today's Days of Our Lives episode, Salem finds itself teetering on the brink of emotional collapse. The events that unfolded earlier in the week. Most notably, the brutal attack on Philip and the fallout from buried secrets continue to send shockwaves through the town. Relationships are tested, old wounds are reopened, and loyalties are questioned in ways that could permanently alter the lives of several key characters. Let's walk through the powerful developments that carry us into a new chapter. One that is deeply personal, emotionally intense, and filled with consequences. Chad's discovery. The truth hits home. It begins with Chad arriving at the Spectator office, expecting a normal day of editorial duties, but instead finds Leo disheveled, confused, and unmistakably drunk. Leo, despite his inebriation, is still managing to keep the newsroom afloat, though he appears to be their only employee at the moment. Chad barely has time to process the sight before Leo throws him into the chaos of the day's biggest headlines. A scandal at the hospital and, more pressing, Philip's brutal beating. Chad is stunned. What? He exclaims, disbelief and concern etched on his face. The two speculate about who could have assaulted Philip. All fingers point toward Xander, whose volatile temper and recent behavior make him the obvious suspect. But there's a hesitation in Chad. Something deeper is gnawing at him. Could there be more to this than just another one of Xander's violent outbursts? Chad doesn't finish his thought. Instead, he abruptly leaves, instructing Leo to prepare both stories, one on the hospital issue and one on Philip's attack. Leo, surprisingly composed in his tipsy state, dutifully nods and gets to work. As Chad disappears out the door, it's clear that his mind is racing. Not just about the story, but about what this means for the people involved, and for the tangled web of loyalty, history, and family that connects them all. Paulina confronts EJ. No more games elsewhere in Salem. Tensions are flaring in the DeMera mansion. Paulina arrives after being summoned by EJ, and she's not in the mood for small talk. She wants answers and fast. What the hell is going on? She demands. EJ, ever the politician in his own right, explains that he needs her help. He's hoping she can talk to Chanel and convince Johnny not to sever ties with him. But Paulina isn't having it. She's still raw from the many betrayals she's endured, especially from EJ himself. She reminds him pointedly that this is the same man who tried to get her fired from her role as mayor. Reform? Redemption? She doesn't buy it. To me, this is another scam, she says flatly. To twist the knife, she informs EJ that Abe, the beloved former mayor and Paulina's husband, is planning to vote in favor of Xander's proposal. That's a bitter pill for EJ to swallow, but he keeps his focus on what matters to him most. His son. EJ tells Paulina that he's not trying to rebuild bridges for political gain or public image. This is about Johnny. Johnny, who was devastated to learn the truth about his father's past misdeeds. Johnny, who deserves a father who will fight for him. EJ insists that he wants to do better, not just for his son, but for Chanel as well. I want to give her the loving family she deserves, he says with uncharacteristic vulnerability. Paulina remains skeptical, but before she can walk out with one final jab, EJ stops her with a heartfelt declaration, I will never give up on Johnny. I would die for him. The words land heavy in the air. Whether Paulina believes him or not is unclear. But for a moment, the mask EJ wears begins to crack, and we glimpse a man desperate to do right by his child, even if it's too late for everything else. Brother to brother, a difficult conversation after Paulina's departure, another visitor arrives at the DeMera mansion. This time, it's Chad. His concern over Philip hasn't faded, and he needs to speak with someone who might have answers. He finds EJ alone and gets right to the point. Did you have anything to do with this? Chad asks bluntly, referring to the vicious beating that has left Philip in critical condition. EJ doesn't flinch. He insists that he had no part in it. He's furious, yes, especially with Kate for revealing the truth to Johnny behind his back, but he didn't resort to violence. Chad studies him, trying to determine whether he's lying. But something about EJ's demeanor convinces him. For once, EJ seems truly remorseful. I understand, Chad says quietly. You're angry. But the truth had to come out eventually. EJ nods. I'm the only one to blame. It's a rare moment of accountability from a man who often shifts blame like chess pieces. For Chad, it offers some comfort, but not enough to erase the damage that's been done. Echoes of the past and uncertain futures. As all of this unfolds, the emotional undercurrents running through Salem continue to ripple. Relationships are hanging in the balance, and no one knows quite where they'll land. Paulina's fierce protectiveness over her daughter is clashing with EJ's sudden attempt at redemption. Chad is caught between family duty and journalistic integrity, and the mystery surrounding Philip's attack remains unresolved. Every conversation, every decision is weighted with years of history, grudges, and unspoken pain. And for many in Salem, the wounds of the past aren't scars. They're open, bleeding reminders of just how fragile peace really is.